Who is AC Butch? That's me. Well, this is just a short outline of my life, and then we're going to be going through a chapter and verse. It all started off, let's say 1950. Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I'm 6 years old, and I'm on the streets. Oh yeah. I mean, that was an era that was unbelievable. It was kind of like the Bowery Boys. I lived on Fifth Avenue above a carpet store. Every street down there had its own little gang of thugs. There was just so much that went on between 6 and 10 years old when I finally moved to Bensonhurst, which to me, I thought that was the country. Unbelievable. But I met my first real good friend there, Brother Benson. We had a fight the first day just to show who was the toughest kid on the block, and it was actually a tie, which was something because down in Bay Ridge I never lost a fight. So a tie anyway, that's not bad, that's not bad. And then 2 years later I started junior high, and that's where I met my best friend for life, Paul. Good-looking Italian stud type guy that had balls, that had brains, a pusher, a goer, a getter, an achiever. Always has been, always will be. And I got into bowling at a young age. 10 years old I started down in Bay Ridge, actually 9 and change. I could bowl almost every day for free because my father was good friends with the owner of the alleys, Ovington Lanes. Great place with 2 floors of bowling, the ground floor and the basement, and they had a great lunch counter, cafeteria, restaurant, whatever you want to call it. Great burgers and French fries and Cokes, and they had a bar that my father hung out, a really big bar, and upstairs a phenomenal pool hall. Oliver Laurie was in charge, and a lot of big matches there. I wasn't allowed up there at that age. I wasn't even allowed in the bowling alley until my father snuck me, and I used to just be in the bar with him sitting on his lap when I was a little kid. But anyways, 13 years old, I actually got into my first match for money. My father backed me against Jimmy Nolan. I won it down at Lee Mark Lanes. My knees and everything, I shot phenomenal, 277, 260 something, 230 something, and that was the beginning. Because the next day, with $100 in my pocket, 50 from the match that my father gave me, which was like a week's pay to regular grown men that supported families, and 50 from the Bowling League Championship that we won that night against Jimmy Nolan's team, the guy that I bowled. Gave it to me all in singles, and I walked into Avenue M with my ball in my hand and a pocket full of money, and that was the beginning. But I've done a whole thing on my bowling bio, my action bowling bio, 40 chapters, you can read that. Next big thing after the Air Force, I went into the Air Force at 18 years old because I had to sneak out of the house. Yeah. I couldn't face my father. I quit high school, didn't go the whole senior year. He didn't know, and I had to wait till I was 18 years old to officially sign myself out and sneak away to the Air Force in the middle of the night. But I only stayed there a year. You're going to hear about all of that nonsense. A lot of things went on. The next big thing was getting into the motion picture business with Paul. We had been really good friends, did a lot of gambling together, all kinds of different things that you're going to hear about. And he started a motion picture production company, no background, but he picks up on anything. He got the idea through somebody else, and right away he wouldn't just invest, he had to do it himself. And he had an office in Manhattan over the Carnegie Deli. I got to invest with him through my father, and that was a whole experience, and the beginning of our business relationship for the rest of our life. Yeah. Then, well, I had made a mistake prior to that of getting married. It's something I should never have done. I just wasn't cut out for it. I gave up bowling because I wanted to give this a legitimate shot, even though I didn't really want to get married, but I did. You figure that out. It's very complicated. I went to work for Bache & Company on Wall Street. I was in the post office before that. Great little gig, but it wasn't my bag. And then Reynolds & Company, Quit that in 1970. I bought my own New York City cab, and I joined the radio group Love Taxi. Did that for the next 10 years, but really only the first 3 I worked. After that it was hit and miss, because I started going to Ovington, playing cards, making money there. 1976, after not bowling for 10 years, I made my comeback. Had really a phenomenal year. I took down the 2 biggest action bowling backers, Barry Bernstein and Bill Daly. That was my plan, not to go after the real bowlers, but to go after the backers, who they both bowled, and I did take them down, and there's a great story there. After that, played cards in Brooklyn, because Atlantic City didn't become legal yet. The casinos didn't start in '76, but the boys were running card games, and it was almost like it was legal. I'm talking about 7 nights a week, all night long, in the catering halls and Shules and Knights of Columbus, and it was a whole gimmick that they were doing it for charity. Somebody was getting paid off big time, and they were making a lot of money, but I was making money too. They even got into crap games in these things. 1979, Paul starts a business that involved paper bags and so on and so forth for the bagel bakeries that he had a big time in with, between his youth and his father and everything else. And we opened up a warehouse on McDonald Avenue right by the train. He took me in at the time as a partner. I started off working for him, but that didn't last long. He just made me a partner after that. He built an office, first thing, beautiful office in this warehouse. Didn't have any real business yet, and we hired a secretary, and we were going to the track, and that's how we were supporting the business. After that, we were running card games big time with these restaurant owners, these Greek restaurant owners. Poker game every Friday night that we were catering and cutting. Made really nice money, especially when we played in it. That all ended after a couple of years, because some top-notch mechanics were brought into the game and took us down, and that's just a great story within itself. Paul went on his own. The business itself actually did grow. I mean, we had moved to Sheepshead Bay, a block-long warehouse, and the business did grow, but Paul got involved in other things. He turned it over to me. I eventually made it just a party warehouse, and went into the entertainment business, was booking bands and comedians and stuff like that at parties. But then we started with Atlantic City. We had great top-notch bands in the Brooklyn area, and after a lot of hard work, we got them into the top lounges, and we were making some nice money. I was kind of like a high roller then, and that started off as a scam, but it became real. And a lot of big betting, chauffeured limousines, best of shows, best of everything. That ended, and you're going to find out why and how. After that, had my own TV shows, cable shows. Had this one organization, Ring Fever, that should have been a multi-million-dollar thing. We were tied in with Vince McMahon, the WWE, had all the big-name star wrestlers coming to our shows, doing interviews at Funtime USA in Brooklyn, and how I fouled that up is just amazing. And then a lot of gambling on the internet, poker. I've had websites. There's just too much even to mention. We're going to go into everything throughout my bio, one by one. Throughout the whole thing, Paul has always been with me. I've had 5 really good friendships, but Paul has been the man, and we were involved in everything from business to gambling to conning to street life, you name it, we did it.